The client has been updated, the changes are buggy and awful, but has it affected the challenge turnout? Let's dive right in. Hi guys, welcome back to Casting Commons, the show where we talk all things Pauper. I am your host, Teasdale, and this is my co-host, oh my god, I haven't wrote anything down? What? This is Reese.
Hello.
What? Madness. I can't believe I've missed it. But before we start, please do not forget to hit that like, subscribe, and follow button so you never miss an upload. Also, do not forget to give us 5 stars on Spotify. That's something that you do not want to forget to do. Look at that. Smooth transition. So, pal, anything that you've been up to this week in Magic?
To be honest, similar to what I was doing last week. Still very much on the dual commander hype train at the moment.
Whoop whoop.
The majority of our basically local Magic scene is jumping on this train, so which is really good. It's getting people that would usually just play casual commander into playing 1v1 formats, which is always a bonus nowadays, because I feel like commander's just the easiest mainstay, and the transition from commander to 1v1 is not the easiest for a lot of places. So yeah, still jamming that. I played Shaldred the Apocalypse FNM, which was sweet, and then the postman came today and delivered a bunch of cards for a couple of the decks that I'm working on. So I should have 3 or 2 and almost 3 complete decks. So yeah, very much excited about that. Pauper wise, I went down to one of our alternate club nights that was on a Wednesday with Michael, basically because he said, I really want to test some Pauper. I don't know what I'm playing for Nationals. So I was like, oh, I also don't know what I'm playing for Nationals. I'll come and test some Pauper. So I tried Selkers, or a very similar list to Selkers. It's not the exact same, of Kuldotha. Which is probably what I'm going to be set on. It seems just very strong. As we'll see in these challenges, it's not quite settled, but it's definitely getting there. It's sort of back in a place where it's going to be 1 or 2 stock lists essentially. So yeah, I'm going to test that more this week. I want to test the Terror list with Dragon Wings as well.
Solid one to test.
But yeah, it's probably getting closer to actually deciding on a deck.
At least you're getting closer to decide on a deck, because I'm still nowhere close.
What have you been doing? That seems like a good segue into that.
Testing, trying to, while also trying to brew and keep up the content, because those two are not mutually exclusive, unfortunately, at the moment.
No.
And back to square one. So I started recording, but didn't end up having time. I think I recorded a game, but need to finish the league because the league ends. There's a Jund Mogwarts deck that 5-0'd, which caught my interest, which was literally Mogwarts, but with Riven Chrysalis in.
Interesting.
And I do like it, and it has been okay. Like, I still haven't finished. I've just finished the league and ended up like 3-2, and it was like fine. But the problem is, what the cut was the disruption. So, like, you know that Jaress Mesfiendy slot?
Yeah.
That's what the cut. So they've just got no disruption. And it just feels... But they've still got, like, 4 unearths and things, so which then doesn't play quite nicely into the Riven Chrysalis side of things. Like, you obviously can't unearth a Riven Chrysalis. So it just felt that bit clunky. But the good thing that I did like is it had Mass Vandal in the side and Weather the Storm in the side, which... I played Weather the Storm in the last National Northern Pauper Open. I played Weather in the side, and it felt great, like a solid-ish sort of way to deal with red, or at least help with red. And then Mass Vandal's pretty good anyways at the moment. And the Riven Chrysalis did win games. Like, there was a couple of games where I was like, first A-class Riven Chrysalis, hit you for a bunch, because obviously the spawns get +1/+1 as well. So, like, you do hit for quite a lot of damage. And there's also worlds where you can actually go first day into Riven Chrysalis into Riven Chrysalis. So it was like, it's pretty interesting. But ultimately, without that sort of disruption. It wasn't my playstyle. It was more,
Yeah.
here's a bunch of mid-rangey stuff and I will eventually combo, which isn't really how I like to play that sort of deck. Yeah.
It is sort of in a bit of an odd spot, Mogwarts, because it very much feels like it needs a backup plan, like a solid just
Mm.
like a Writhing Chrysalis, a threat that can win the game alternatively to your combo.
Mm.
Because obviously the combo can be quite fragile against a lot of the interaction that's out at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm not certain what that backup plan or what that threat should be. Chrysalis sounds like a decent place to start, but also it doesn't really do much for you outside of just here's a 4-mana 4/5 essentially.
Yeah, the other thing that I was thinking while playing that is going back to the old Hamuda list with Exhume and Troll, what you want. But,
Yeah, I
so
don't hate
that's
that idea as well.
so that's something to test because obviously the Exhume at least plays into your game plan a little bit. Is like that sort of like unearthly sort of card.
I guess in the Troll you can sort of tweak the mana base, like maybe go down on lands to fit it in for free and stuff like that. So it's not massively detrimental to your game plan either. And yeah, obviously, as you say, Exhume's pretty positive to the game plan. Like it does what you want to do anyway.
But then obviously, like I'd say a good three-fifths of the way through that league, I'm thinking, am I just fighting a losing battle here, playing a deck on hard mode for no reason?
Well,
And
probably, yeah, but
and I'm fine playing it, like I don't mind it, but it's then it's like, do I not just play another sort of off meta brew? Like I think I'd sooner at the moment, in all honesty, the two decks that are winning for me right now is probably Rakdos Control, like either a cross between mine and Bath's list,
yeah,
or Food Pestilence is probably where I'm at, and that's currently what's winning.
Are we off the dredge hype?
I think so. I think the deck loses to itself too much for my liking. As you know, like I don't like losing to
variance.
Yeah. That
I did think that when you initially suggested that you were gonna maybe play it, I was like, oh, I wouldn't have ever put Teasdale to play Dredge. Like it's not what I would have picked.
I enjoy it. Don't get me wrong, I do enjoy playing it, but wow, it dies to variance so hard. Like
it can do.
Like half the time you look and you're like, right, okay, I've got this. If I hit, this 60% chance, oh, you don't. Okay, I lose.
Yeah,
fair enough. So yeah, so I'm back to the drawing board. I still have no idea. I haven't even looked on a deck to even say we have the card because I actually don't even think we own Cauldron Familiars.
We have like one. I could get 4, but yeah, we don't immediately have 4.
So we're at the point where we're 3 weeks out and I don't even know what I'm playing and I don't even know if we have all the cards to play the decks I would normally play.
Maybe just give me a list of what you might play and I'll just buy all the cards that we don't have and then you've got the options.
So right now I'm slowly dying in pure panic of walking into a room full of people. Plus also, I also don't even know what I'm playing. So I'm spiraling in my head. So it's gone well. I did also, before we move on, quickly touch on, I did also brew another deck, which I think you've seen, the Jund/green-black ramp deck with the Arbor Elf Wild Growthy ramp package. Plus, the Jund version had Writhing Chrysalis and stuff, but was basically green-red ramp with Basking Broodskill combo in. And then the green-black deck was just basically ramp with green-black Broodskill on. The main thing I did cut from both of them is I cut both Cascaders. But it's just more, here's a ramp pile, but you have the way of just comboing them with Broodskill. I didn't have any Nightblades or Invokers or anything. It was literally just, I am playing this combo and I will attack you with it. And it seemed to work. Both times I played both builds, a 3 Odin, a 3-2, and it was just, it seemed pretty solid.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting one. I think obviously the upside of the green-red ramps like shell is you just win games by like turn 3 and Avenging Hunters and stuff like that. So you've got that benefit, but also you just combo people out of nowhere because when people see that sort of the turn 1 Forest Utopia Sprawl, turn 1 Forest Arbor Elf, whatever, they're not expecting to then get Brood Scaled in 2 turns.
Yeah. It was really funny as well because the way you can play it as well, you just don't need the Utopia Sprawl. You just like play wild growths and stuff. Like start, as you say, casting the repurposes, jewel thieves or whatever. You can
Yeah.
I've even won games where I Utopia Sprawl on green, just played a jewel thief. So then they didn't know my second color, and then literally the sadistic glaze off this treasure token to the point where it's just out of nowhere, and they're like, oh, guess I'm
What
dead.
you should have done is put the Utopia Sprawl on red, so they thought you were green.
Ah,
Straight green red.
that's it. That's the play. But yeah, that was pretty cool. I'm hoping to get it out for Wednesday. Hopefully, touch wood. But I'm having time issues to get it down. But I did also make the mistake of doing the wrong deck tech. So, well, I say the right. Okay, I did the right deck tech. Then I did the wrong games because I changed the green black version last, so it loaded green black in, and I did a deck tech for Jund, and I was like, wait, where's my green red land when I generous sent it on one for the green red land? I was like, what? Oh, I'm not even playing the green red build. But, these things happen. It was very fun. Would you like to move on after that rambling?
Yeah, go for it.
So, guys, just for some news, do not forget to give us a follow on Casting Commons at Casting Commons 1 on Twitter or X, as it is now known. We obviously retweet all the challenge lists that we find on Twitter while we're scrolling, all that sort of good stuff, and all the 5-0s. And we're a great hub for any competitive pauper. More importantly, Nationals. Nationals update. We have 3 weeks to go. Please don't remind me how long we've got because I still haven't picked a deck. But we are sold out. 144 players have bought tickets. Let's go!
It is pretty mental, that, like, especially for a UK event, obviously, but a first time UK event as well. It really does show like the demand for Pauper. Yeah, hopefully it goes well and the next one's even bigger because there's definitely demand for it.
I've been told that I do have to make people aware, based on communications, that I do believe there is no PFP representation at that event. Just to let you all know,
Oh,
unfortunately.
that's sad.
But anyways, moving on to the challenges.
Yeah. So there's some pretty odd numbers for challenges this week. Obviously we have a reason for one of them. The Friday challenge, which was on the 8th, was 47 players, which is a bit down from what we usually see. I'm not sure if that one had a reason to be down, but obviously usually we see around like the mid-50s mark. First place was Blue Red Scred, second Grix Affinity, third was Blue Black Fair, fourth was Kuldotha, fifth was Junglee, sixth was Stomp the Elves, seventh was Blue Black Fair, and eighth was Kuldotha. And then the two near misses, ninth was Black Green Glee, and 10th was Blue Black Fair. So yeah, a lot of Blue Black Fair just coming back out of nowhere. The lists, from what I've seen, weren't anything spectacularly new. Just pretty solid Blue Black Fair. 3 ninjas, 7-ish fairies, augurs, thorns, as you'd expect in the creature package. The Wither and Bloom seems to be sort of a return and like newish staple. I think we have mentioned it before, but it seems to have solidified its slot as a sort of a one-off removal spell that is pretty good utility from the graveyard as well, which is sweet.
Yeah, it's not a bad one. Pretty cool.
Other than that, there wasn't anything really that stood out to me other than it's cool to see just Blue Black Fair randomly return.
Yeah, I think it's a solid transition because I think obviously it got a bit of increase last week. Obviously ended up with the hot take of Colgate returning because of it. The only thing to note, I guess, is Bath's list is a bit different, but I feel like it's not different out there. It's more just different. The 10th place listing in terms of Bath list. The 10th place list is more like a hybrid of like the blue-black control. He's very much into this like snackery spell stutter modern age sort of deck. So it's not. It's been around. It's been around the houses for quite a while now. It's not too different. It is running some ninjas. It's got 2 ninjas, 4 spell stutter sprites, no fairy seers, 3 snackers, 2 thorns, like that sort of thing, and then 1 murmur mystic, 3 augurs.
It's even sort of less different than it used to be as well, because obviously the snackers have gone down to 3. The modern ages are now at 2 instead of 4. So it is very much tending back towards the regular list, but still obviously with that snacker like
I know he's
grindy plan, I guess.
I know he's really high on obviously the snacker spell stuttering action. I don't blame him
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
the card's pretty strong, especially if there's a lot of like Jund Wildfire and Grix Affinity around. Like that's so much crack on Shaman that they just basically can't kill spell stutter sprite and snacker. So pretty sweet.
Other than that, there wasn't a huge amount that really stood out to me. The Glee list, the 9th place Season of Mist Glee, sort of suggests that this. I believe we mentioned it last week about Shambling Ghast, like transferring from the like full on mono black / green black sack Glee into the just normal green black Glee. That seems to be true here as well, full 4 Shambling Ghasts. But none of the 1 mana draw 2 sack spells, just the Deadly Disputes and Eviscerators.
Yeah, I just think Shambling Ghast just should be in these lists, as you say, and it shows that obviously if Season of Mist is playing this in green black, everyone else should be. Is my general rule of thumb. It just does what it answers so many problems while also ramping you. Like literally turn 1 Shambling Ghast into turn 2 Deadly Dispute, you can combo like turn 3 really easily.
Pretty easily with protection as well because you've got that much mana.
So it's really cool, and also Ghast obviously fixes a lot of problems. Crackling Shaman, Crypt Rats, spell stuts,
and it helps out in the aggro matches as well.
Yep.
It's obviously a really solid guy into Cold Author. Just having some early blocker / removal is pretty key there. You need to be on the board as soon as you can.
Yeah.
I guess speaking about Cold Author, the lists seem to be a bit split now between essentially 2 variants. There's the 4th place WCL list. I'm not sure who originated this list, but this is sort of the first time that it's really stood out to me. Which is essentially still running the 4 Blast Runners in as like a 20 creature package, and then the flex is a Fire Blast and 2 Reckless Abandons. Again, as we were saying, or as I was saying last week about the sack sort of aspect of the deck getting quite low numbers wise, the Reckless Abandon sort of as a tool to bring that back up. Sacking the monkeys pretty sweet there.
And mana deal 4 drawer cards pretty good.
Yeah. And then the 8th place list is basically the other list, which is the Selkers list.
With the lackey.
Which is essentially you cut the Blast Runners in, replace them with lackeys. Runs an extra land in a 1 of Autonomous Furnace, and then a couple of End the Festivities. So no Reckless Abandons, no Fire Blasts, no Goblin Grenades. A very, very clean list, to be fair. And just focusing on them, that early damage off the little guys rather than trying to set up a Blast Runner to make it work.
Yeah. It's context that obviously matters. Like I still do think Blast Runners are a way better card, but obviously as you say, like if there is, I haven't played the deck enough to know how much it struggles with the sacrificing. Context is better that if you're gonna have a 1/2 that's sitting there because you're gonna struggle to make it a 3/2 menace, you may as well have one with First Dragon Haste that can draw a card. So
yeah, definitely.
Even though I am not a fan of Lackey, in that logic, you may as well.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm not a massive fan of it, as we've probably said before. But yeah, it's just without the implements, the Blast Runner has just looked quite clunky. Yeah.
I've got nothing really else to add apart from the Jund Glee isn't Wildfire. It's the black green version with Chrysalis and makeshift munitions. Other than that,
to be fair, that seems to be now the mainstay for Jungly. Like the whole Wildfire artifact taplands crack seems to have died off pretty hard. Which makes a lot of sense. Like everyone's hating for Affinity. If you want to avoid a lot of that hate for free, you basically just don't play Wildfire and then you're fine.
Yeah.
And I think, to be honest, the mana base looks a bit better without the Wildfire anyway.
But yeah, that's all I've got for Friday.
Yeah, so moving on to the Saturday challenge, I guess. the Saturday the 9th only had 32 players, which is obviously massively like 20 plus players less than we normally get. And as far as I'm aware, it didn't start on time and instead started 20 minutes later or something like that.
Yeah.
So obviously I'm surprised it fired at first. Obviously it's exactly fired with the exact number it needed. I'm assuming after the first 5-10 minutes, people just left and like dropped. Because obviously if the challenge doesn't start, you can just leave and you don't have to pay the cost. I'm not sure why it was delayed that long.
I
I
don't
don't know if
think
you know.
I don't know the reasons why. The only thing I have is off Kirby tweeted that it didn't start till 20 minutes after. And I think basically it was like people were struggling to join, and it really skewed like all the data and everything on what people ended up playing and all that sort of stuff as well. So yeah, there's like it was really really odd that it's not that, because usually if it doesn't fire, it doesn't just sit there and like ready until people are there. It just stops and it's cancelled. But because it was really buggy, it actually did fire, but didn't register it fired or something like that until 20 minutes after, which then caused obviously the really low numbers.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, very very odd. But anyway, the first place list was I'm gonna call it Pinger Aggro because I'm not entirely sure what to call it. Basically, the Weber list that we spoke about last week, which is essentially Kuldotha without the Kuldotha and instead with Ren's Resolves and Pesic Flame Breathers. Second place was actual Kuldotha. Third place was Blue Black Fae. Fourth was another copy of Kuldotha. Fifth was Black Green Glee, once again Season of Mist. Sixth was Blue Red Scred. Seventh was Kuldotha, once again WCL. And eighth was Grix Affinity. And then the two near misses, ninth was Kuldotha and 10th was Red Green Ramp.
before we get started, just for reference, because obviously the numbers were all skewed with it being so small, 31% of the meta was Kuldotha, which is why it is like it is. With so much Kuldotha in the top 8, there was 10 pilots of the 32 playing Kuldotha. The next deck, 2 decks down, was 4 pilots playing Blue-Red Control. Or is it Control? And then 3 people playing Blue-Black Fair. Like, that is where, like, that's how mental the numbers were. So I'm not surprised here we're seeing, like, effectively, 4 variations? Is it 5 if you include the top 10, right? The Pinger Aggro, the Kuldotha in 2nd, 4th, 7th, and 9th is why there's so much Kuldotha. There literally was so much of the meta. It was a third of the meta, basically, so I am not surprised.
Yeah, it's a shame. Obviously, after the update, Magic Online's been horrendously buggy. And yeah, it does end up impacting stuff like this, which is not ideal.
Yeah.
Deck wise, though, obviously Season of Mists, back to back top 8s, or I think actually the first one was a top 10, but back to back top 10s with this Black Green Glee list. Again, playing the Shambling Ghast in the main. Definitely just seems like a really solid take on that Black Green Glee sort of list. It's very clean. There's no like random one-offs. Protection wise, it's just full on 4 Safekeepers, 4 Duress. It looks like a very clean version of that combo deck.
Yeah, I really like the idea of 4 Safekeeping, 4 Duress. Seems pretty good right now. And then only 4 tap lands as well with the 4 Colony Garden, which works really well with obviously the 8 Sagavex. Seems pretty good.
Yeah, interestingly, obviously, with the addition of Shambling Ghast, the artifact lands, like the random one of like Vault of Whispers, Trio Tales, and stuff that got played in there, seem not to be needed. Like you have a lot of fodder. Obviously, the Shambling Ghasts are fodder in of themselves, but when they make treasure, that's just more fodder. Which seems pretty sweet.
Yeah, the original lists ran, I think they ran 18 lands and they ran 2 Trio Tales. They generally went 4, and at the end of the day, you just might as well run a Colony Garden because it's a green land that effectively makes something to sack. And it was again Season of Mist that basically came up with that change. I think they originally went to 20 lands and ran 4 Colony Gardens, and then now, as you can see, now they've cut to 19 lands. So it's like it's finding that sweet spot, but 4 Colony Gardens instead of the artifact land seems like a great place to be.
Mm.
Yeah, I really like this list. I also like the 3 Nightblades. It seems to make the Terra matchup better, I find, because mono
Yeah.
blue Terra being, because you can literally just play stuff, and it's quite. It happens a bit where you basically just end up with double or triple Nightblade in play, and you just ping you for 3 every time you sack a treasure or Colony Garden plant token or whatever.
I think especially in the Terra matchup, it's not that hard to change
Mm.
the clock as well.
Yeah.
Because they hit you for like pretty solid just chunks.
Mm.
If you gain 1 or 2 life, like that's an extra turn, like a full
Yeah,
turn
yeah,
essentially. Which can be all the difference in that
yeah,
matchup.
definitely.
In terms of other stuff, blue red, Scred seems to
Mm.
be having quite a good weekend. That's a 6th here, and was it first? Yeah,
It was a
first
win.
on Friday.
Mm.
Another deck that we haven't seen like masses of.
Mm.
It seems to have moved away from the whole energy package with the galvanic and the one-off cantrip,
Mm-hmm.
and just back to literally like classic Scred. There's nothing really massively new that I've noticed that like the one-off considers a bit interesting.
Mm.
In this list in particular, but otherwise it's pretty classic Scred, 4 augurs, 4 terrors, a couple of murmur mystics, a couple of monarch guys, and then yeah, just your cantrips, your breath weapons, lightning bolts, and Screds.
Yeah, it's a fairly solid list, and the main thing to me is obviously you get both blasts in the board. Is a
Mm.
good pull for blue red. Obviously Hydra and Pyro are both solidly positioned right now. So pretty solid choice. If you are good with the deck, I would recommend probably taking this to some sort of event. I don't know if there's anything really else to add for me. I guess the only thing for the 8th place list is that Luffy in Grixis Affinity is still on 2 Prowlers.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
just love that
double
it's
kill
just
squad.
all like this card's been around for ages, and it just all of a sudden just, you know what, this is the perfect meta for it, and it seems to
Yeah.
be working. Solid.
Um, I think just the final one for me on this challenge,
Mm.
the 10th place, Green Red Ramp list.
Yep.
Again, I just really like the way this deck is going. It is very much just like red green monsters now.
Yeah.
Um, there's no like fluff anymore. It's literally just like a bunch of 4-ofs. They've completely cut the land cyclers, right? The Ents
Mm.
and the Oliphant,
Mm-hmm.
and essentially just running like the 3 drops, which when you're running 4 Utopias Roll, 4 Wild Growth, and 4 Arbor Elf, you want a 3-drop on 2. Like
Mm.
that's literally what your deck wants to do. And when you've got the repurposer and the Jewel Thief that just make you a mana, so you can put your 5-drop on turn 3, like
Mm.
it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And to be fair, a thing that I found when playing the green black deck, which didn't was sort of similar, like 16 lands,
Yeah,
12 mana dogs, is that the Nyxborn Hydra is actually a solid like it's still a fine 3-drop.
yeah.
Like just play a 2/3 for 3 is still fine. It's got reach,
Mm.
and trample, which then grows obviously with the other Nyxborn Hydras later on in the game.
It's also just really good to curve onto those 3-drops as well.
Yeah.
Like I say, if you go turn 1 mana ramp,
Mm.
turn 2 one of the 3-drops, turn 3 put a Nyxborn Hydra on it, make it a 6/6 trampler
Yeah, yeah.
with possibly with vigilance as well if it's a Jewel Thief.
Mm.
And when it dies, makes a 3/3. Like it's a
Mm.
really legit threat.
Yeah, yeah. Obviously, it does come at the cost
Um,
of Altar Saw board and buying into it, but obviously you can just
yeah,
choose no. Like that is an option.
or
But
just cast it as a little
yeah,
0/1 reach.
little boy, yeah, cool to see. I like how the sort of half going in with the Walker sort of sideboard with the 4 seals, 3 sandstorms, and 3 vines. Haven't went full blown with the hissing iguanas, but definitely a solid sideboard strategy. With sandstorms is really impressed me against Goldother as well. Pretty
Yeah,
solid one.
yeah, it makes a lot of sense against Goldother.
Mm.
And sort of the 3 mana ones always felt a bit clunky in this
Mm.
deck
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah,
Like you didn't really want to hold them up, because you would better just deploy your threats.
yeah,
But one mana is a lot easier for this deck to hold up.
yeah, yeah, definitely. You want to move on to
Anything
Sunday?
else? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the Sunday challenge, again, slightly smaller than normal, only
Mm.
58 players. Sunday the 10th. I'm not really sure why. Maybe people were just sick of the updates to the client.
Yeah.
First place, Colgate. Second place, Jund Glee. Third place, Black Green Glee. Once again, Season of Mists. Fourth place was Jeskai Ephemerate. Fifth was Jund Glee. Sixth was Kuldotha. Seventh was Jund Wildfire.
Woo!
Eighth was Mono Blue Fair. And then the two near misses, ninth was Kuldotha and 10th was Black Green Glee. So a very mixed top 10, really. And just with like decks that we haven't seen in a while, once again, Jeskai Ephemerate and Corgate obviously being the two standouts. But obviously Mono Blue Fair, we occasionally see it, but yeah, coming back once again. The Colgate, I definitely feel like GN literally just played it for your hot take, though.
I literally, because he posted it in the fams Discord. That's what I was checking. He posted it in the fams Discord, and he was like, "Do not play this deck," all this sort of stuff, as he normally does. And I said, "You literally listened to that podcast, and you just went, hold my beer." He didn't even play like the anti-Glee version or anything. Literally just dodged Glee. I think he played it once, and he just lost. It was like just in the like Swiss. He did put his matchups here. I'm just gonna open the phone.
I believe he did Season of Mists before the top 8, and Season of Mists scooped him in.
Yeah, sorry, yeah. So
he pseudo dodged the Glee matchup.
Well, he versed it round 3, and then he versed it again round 6, which obviously Season of Mists scooped him in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which
but
then?
Yeah. Colgate, nothing, as you say, not even the like anti-Glee version, nothing really new. 2-3 split in favour of Journeys and Thriven Charms. Yeah, sideboard, much of a muchness Colgate wise.
Yeah, a guard in the Guild Pact in the side is probably about the most exciting as it gets.
Yeah, just GN, the master of Sunday challenges.
Yeah, and good to be playing that deck. That's all I'm saying. Seems very. Or if you actually can dodge Glee, which I know is hard to do, it's like probably the second most played deck. But if you actually do dodge Glee, it's probably pretty well positioned. It's like bar Glee, you could probably win everything else. So it's pretty solid.
Other not played very often deck that we definitely love. It's our favourite deck.
Our favourite deck.
Jeskai Ephemerate. The Galvanic Discharge seems to have stuck in this one as opposed to Blue Red Scred. And obviously a one-off tune the narrative just to add to that energy count as well if you need to kill something bigger. Other than that, there wasn't anything particularly new that stood out to me as a reason to play the Jeskai FM deck. It just looks like a pretty stock Jeskai FM list.
Yeah, I do.
61 cards, which is also odd.
I'm not surprised in a deck like this pile. Like you could easily have definitely cut a Lightning Bolt or a Destroy Evil here, but whatever. Yeah, I do think Galvanic Discharge is probably the correct call in this sort of deck though, because obviously they've got so many bridges that it just is awkward. And a deck like this as well is quite. I often find they're quite late in sacking the landscapes. Like it's not out the question that just play a bridge in a landscape and have the landscape in play for ages, just until that right time for the brainstorm or whatever, or they keep tapping out for like wildfires and augurs and stuff like that. So Galvanic Discharge makes sense. Where obviously in blue red, just play Scred, every land drop is +1 damage.
Yeah. I think obviously interestingly it's still on the snow covered lands, I guess, just to pretend they've got Scred. And there's no real downside to it anymore now. Ponza isn't playing the Ponza effects. Any other decks you want to touch on?
I do want to touch on the Jund Wildfire deck, but I also want to go I just want to mention the 5th place person first. These are if you are checking the links, you can see that they are a DB underscore so deck. So DB underscore is a sign of they are in the content creator sort of program. So that's a sign of that. Yeah, so that's a sign they're in the content creator program account. That's their account. And these are, I believe, a modern Dredge player, a legacy Dredge player. They're a Dredge content creator, but I think they're modern because the tweet I seen was that basically modern is getting a bit boring now. So I tried this because Paupergeddon Rome's coming up. So there must be an Italian content creator, is my logic. And yeah, they dabbled in Pauper and did well. Obviously 5th place. They did time out in one of their games, which, to be honest, after watching the Creator Showdown, the first one that was Pauper, I'm not surprised at that because, in all honesty, any non-Pauper player has absolutely shocking time management when it comes to Magic Online. It is horrendous. They have so little clicks in comparison to Pauper players that they're literally like, their time managements are terrible.
Yeah, I sort of agree with you, to be fair. Like, modern decks on Magic Online aren't really that click intensive, like, unless you play something really off the wall.
Yeah.
But obviously we've got like Glee Combo, which is essentially one of a number of tier 1 strategies, depending which colours you go, and is super click intensive. It's quite an interesting Glee list as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, we mentioned the mana base in the Season of Mist ones. Obviously, this is Jund, but going with like a gate package for the fixin', but with no like gate payoff. It's literally just got a Black Dragon gate and 3 mana gates.
Yeah.
As just like I guess a thriving land, but you can pretend you're
playing
something
gates.
else.
Pretend you're Turbo Fog for about 4 turns.
Yeah.
Also running 2 petals too. It's just it is an odd list. Like 1 Shambling Ghast, 1 Witness, 1 Witness with no Blood Fountains interest in 2, and then you have 4 stars, 2 petals, 3 Wellsprings. It is an odd list. Obviously, you do get the benefit of Evolution Witness plus Sadistically plus Chromatic Star getting to draw your deck. While Brutescale comboing, which is quite interesting. But yeah, odd list all round. Like 2 dresses, 3 safekeepings as well. Like all around, this list is pretty interesting. I don't agree with the mana base, but you know, each their own. Obviously worked out well.
Yeah, it is a weird one because it ends up those essentially 4 gates are your only land red source, but obviously you've got Deadly Dispute tokens, you've got a 1-off Ghast, and the Lotus Petals and stars as well. So you end up the Riven Chrysalis is pretty free. I'm not even sure you need the 4 gates. Like, I feel like it would almost be as free given you're playing Lotus Petals anyway, if the mana gates and the Black Dragon gate were just like a 4th Colony Garden and some forests.
You could probably even cut a land and another petal and still be fine. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're going down that route anyway.
Yeah. But pretty interesting list. I do like the fact that obviously it does make it faster with Lotus Petals, but then also makes it slow with Dragon Gate, like Gates. But it is pretty cool. You do get the backup plan of Chrysalis. I'm all for trying these sort of like different takes. Like the combo is so free. Like it's literally 8 cards that you can just add whatever you want.
And as you touched on it, it's nice to see people moving over from other formats. You can only get 1 ring so many times before you want to play something else.
Yep. I was listening to another podcast earlier, and they were basically talking about how the first people that just went ring, 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 win. Like, hello, I win the game now. Yeah, sorry, that jokes.
Yeah, that was a particularly bad one. I guess in terms of other interesting lists, the 8th place Mono Blue Fair. A lot of people love this deck. It's pretty much unchanged from when we've seen it return. There's 2 Snare Masters instead of 4. Still got the weird snow-covered island, normal island split, which I think is just a funny meme at this point.
Yep.
Like, I built up Mono Blue Fame paper and split the islands and snow-covered islands just because it was funny.
Sure, that would absolutely tilt me by seeing that.
That's exactly why I've done it. 2 Force Spike, 2 Spell Pierce split. Other than that, pretty stock what you'd expect from Mono Blue Fair.
Yep. Yeah. I do sort of want to mention that obviously the Jund Wildfire deck is back again. It was quite highly played. Oh, yeah. I say highly played. It was 3 pilots on Sunday. I think there was 3 pilots on Saturday or something, or 2 pilots on Saturday. Which is highly played considering the deck went from nowhere to literally like 1 pilot to. So it has picked up, obviously turned into 1 top 8. But the deck seems to have solidified into this sort of Crackland Sham Toxin Analysis thing that it's got going on with the Galv Blasts. I really do like this because I really do like the threat package. Like any deck that can combine Writhing Chrysalis with Refurb, I'm all for it. Because it's a surprisingly strong duo. Like they're just the best 4-drops in Modern Horizons 3 and the best creatures in Modern Horizons 3. That Yeah, I'm not like they grind like no other cards will grind.
Calling refurbished familiar a 4-drop is a strong statement there.
Technically,
As it's definitely getting cast on 2 every time with this deck.
technically, I'm correct.
Um,
That is all that matters.
but no, it is sweet. I do really like this
Mm,
list. Obviously we had a Jund Wildfire years ago.
mm.
Basically when was it Modern Horizons 1? Modern
Whichever one
Horizons
had
2? Whichever
bridge.
one's had the dual lands in,
Yeah,
yeah. Modern Horizons 2. Um,
I think it might be one. You know,
oh, one of the Modern Horizons.
don't carry on.
The one that looks like a diamond set symbol.
Yeah, there might be two.
Yeah, obviously when the bridges came out,
Mm,
it got combined with Wildfire in Jund pretty quickly,
mm,
and I believe it played, was it Bleak Coven Vampires or
mm.
something like that from Scars?
Yeah, I think it also
Um,
had the like cascadey stuff as well.
yeah, as like
Um,
a higher end ramp with a big payoff.
mm,
But this route I really like, just being essentially super low to the ground. Like Chrysalis is the most expensive card in the deck by far. Everything else is like 1 and 2. But then the ramp, you can just jam it into a massive Nick Spawn Hydra late game if you want. And you get to play Deadly Dispute, which is the best card draw in the format.
yeah,
It seems like a win-win.
yeah.
I do really like this list.
I definitely need to try it, and I still haven't got around to trying it.
Maybe it's your Nationals deck. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe we've found it.
Maybe that's what it is. I do definitely need to try this list, and I need to. I'll probably end up making it worse by tweaking it because it's kind of the thing I do. But yeah, definitely sweet. I like the creature package is the main pull for me for sure.
Yeah. And we have all the cards, so that's a bonus.
Always a bonus. That's what I like to hear. Do you want to move on?
Yeah, go for it.
So moving on to the shout outs, I just would like to shout out Kirby, obviously not only just for the data, but the match win versus loss thing that he does, like the PowerPoint that shows all the data combined into what's got good matchups, what's a top 5, all that sort of stuff. That got released yesterday. It was an hour long. I didn't realize it was that long, but you know, Kirby's videos, you're in for a good time. I do highly recommend watching that PowerPoint because it does go into quite a lot of detail. And it's very, if you are listening to this and are new, excuse me, it is a good, it's very user friendly to be new as well. Like he does deck text on what actually each deck is. So I do recommend listening to that. And then shout out to obviously Season Mists for obviously having a great weekend. Shout out to obviously GN for, you know, bringing in my hot take. Shout out to obviously all of the grinders, which I'll obviously touch on loosely. Obviously Baco, YCL for the good weekend, Luffy for still rocking the Prowlers, Mogged for doing well, Carrot Eater, Barth obviously for the 10th place list. I don't know if I've missed anyone. Anyone else you want to shout out?
There was a lot of regulars, to be fair,
Yeah.
although obviously the 9th, the Saturday the 9th was a bit messed up. There was still a lot of regulars in all of the challenges.
I think. Do you want to move on to hot takes?
Yeah. So my hot take from last week, my first one was that Daybreak would update the Sunday challenge, and I'm gonna cry because it's once again not hit 64.
That's it.
And I feel like we get 2 weeks of 64, and then it doesn't hit 64, and then we get 2 weeks of 64 plus.
Ruined it.
I think they changed Magic Online just so they didn't have to upgrade this challenge to 64.
Is that what it is?
But yeah, they didn't upgrade the challenge. I feel like it's at some point is a self-fulfilling prophecy where if they just upgrade it to a 64, more people would enter, so it would be a 64 more often. But
I agree.
what are you gonna do?
My next one was that Jund Wildfire will take off and have 2 in the top 8 next week, and almost there. We definitely started taking off. Obviously, got at least 5 pilots over the weekend, which is pretty good, and then 1 in the top 8. I'm gonna say if Magic Online didn't actually break, I probably would like to think that someone would have picked it up on Saturday and top 8'd.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And my last one from last week was that Kuldotha would solidify or start to solidify its list in the coming weeks. It definitely feels like we're getting there now. Kuldotha is such a weird one because it seems to get a card and then completely implode itself because it doesn't know how to play this card.
Yeah.
It knows the card's good, but doesn't know where it fits or how many or how to play it. And that seemed to have happened basically every set at this point.
Every time they
Kuldotha-
get a good red card, it just does.
Yeah.
It's like
Kuldotha gets a good one drop and it's like, right, I must play this card. Where does it go? What do I cut? But we are slowly getting there. It definitely feels like we're split between two lists now, rather than just a bunch of like 10 card different decks.
Yeah.
Obviously the WCL list with the Blast Runners and the Reckless Abandons, and then the Selka's list with the
Lackeys.
extra land and the Reckless Lackeys seem to be the two go-tos.
Yeah.
I imagine we'll sort of see that either go one way or the other, or just be fully split and just there is two lists though.
Yeah, I can get behind that. My last one is that Fair was back because it was quite back last week, and that Colgate should return because of this. And yet again, GN coming in clutch. Come on, GN. I don't actually know how many people played Colgate at all weekend.
That was my next question. Was there anyone else who actually ran it?
Sunday had 2 pilots, and it was 8-3 with a 72% win rate. So
that's pretty good, to be fair.
With GN went what? He went X and 2. So therefore, the other person must have done reasonable.
If it was 8-3, GM must have went X and 1, right?
Well, the loss. I mean, so GN went. Oh no, he went X and 1. Yeah, he went X and 1, didn't he? Yeah, he did.
And the other person X and 2. So
probably top 6.
Depending on tiebreakers.
Most likely top 16. Let's check. Quick check.
Scroll down and I didn't see it, but I could just be on the wrong thing.
I'm just gonna control F gate. Oh no, that's not gonna work. Basket. Bass. Wait, there is nothing.
Yeah, I couldn't.
We've been lied to. Squad. Squadron Hawk is there's literally only one person. Kirby, you're lying to me here. You're lying to me.
Unless GM went X and O and the other person went X and 3.
No, it said they lost. GM put it lost in round 3 against Black Green Glee.
Oh, yeah. Pass.
Kirby, you're lying to me here. Kirby, come on. What's going on?
Maybe it's 33rd and
that's what it is. That's what it is. Must be.
Because we're not allowed to see all the decks anymore.
But yeah, that was my last day. I do, again, as I've said, if you dodge Glee or play the anti-Glee version with the colours running, I do actually think Colgate is a reasonable choice. It is just boring as hell to play. But people play Red-Green Ramp, which is no different. It's about as linear as Red-Green Ramp, but people still don't.
The games are so much faster with Red-Green.
Yeah, I know they are, but still not the point. Anyways, let's move on to the hot takes for next week.
Yeah. My first one is not about Colgate. It's that Season of Mist's Black Green Glee results will basically cement the Ghast as now a mainstay in regular Black Green Glee.
Makes sense.
Which I think it should be, to be honest. It's a really good card and it does a lot for that deck.
I can say that. My next one is that Mono Blue Fair will pick up and be one of the most played most played decks of next weekend. Solid choice right now. Does really well against a lot of the format.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, if the meta really panders to it. I guess if there's a lot of Black Green Glee, it's probably not in the worst shape. But I don't know how good it is now against with the green red deck changing. Obviously, it's got a lot faster and just a lot of like 3-mana beaters now, which might be a problem.
Yeah. I could see
but again, it's not hugely played, so it'll be interesting to see if Mono Blue Fair picks up. I don't know how well positioned it is. It's a bit of an odd one. Anyway, my last one is that more people will try Weber's Ping Aggro list. Obviously, it's not really been very played at all, but it's had 2 really good results in 2 weeks. So yeah, it's an interesting looking list. I imagine people will want to give it a go. Everyone seems to love Keswick Flame Breather, so it's definitely a draw.
Card's good. Pauper's Young Pyromancer, honest.
Sort
of. My last hot take is that Jund Wildfire will win next week. I'm doubling down. Obviously, I said it would take off. It's done quite well One top 8, obviously 6 or so pilots or whatever it was, 5 or so pilots. So I'm gonna go hard and go. It's gonna win next week. So,
I feel like it's definitely lined up for another top 8. It does seem like a very solid deck, especially at the moment. It's got a lot of powerful players, and it seems like a reasonable favorite against a lot of the meta decks as well, which is always a good place to be. So I don't think that's too out of the question for it to win.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Anything else, Sad?
Are you gonna play it in the challenge?
I don't think I have time next week. I don't think I'm busy with work, unfortunately.
Sad times.
Anyways, guys, thank you all for listening. If you have enjoyed this podcast, please don't forget to share it with your friends, your family, your local pauper community, and even customer support. That is all from us at Casting Commons. Until next time, and don't forget to stay hydrated. Peace.
Bye.